The massive Imperial scout ship emerged from hyperspace just beyond Mars' orbit, its dark hull blocking out the distant stars. The vessel stretched nearly 3 miles long, its surface decorated with pulsing blue lights that rippled along its arrow-shaped hull. Inside Earth's most secret military installation, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Thomas Reed stood perfectly still as he watched the main display screen. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his right hand tightly gripped the command console. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment. "Sir, the alien vessel has cleared the Mars defense zone," reported Lieutenant Anna White, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "They're following exactly the path we predicted." Reed nodded slowly. "Maintain radio silence. Let them think we can barely detect them." He turned to face the room full of operators, each at their stations, monitoring different aspects of Earth's defenses. "Remember your training. As far as they know, we're just a primitive species barely able to reach our own moon." The Imperial ship moved closer, its sensors sweeping Earth with invisible beams. In response, thousands of carefully crafted decoy signals bounced back, showing exactly what humanity wanted their visitors to see: cities running on fossil fuels, basic satellite networks, and early-stage space stations. "They're scanning our power plants," reported Commander John Peters from his station. "The masking systems are working perfectly. All they're detecting are the coal and nuclear facilities." Reed allowed himself a small smile. The real power plants, hidden in quantum space, continued to power Earth's civilization without leaving any trace. The deception they had maintained for 3 decades was about to face its greatest test. The Imperial ship's scans intensified. They focused on military installations, weapons stockpiles, and defense systems. They found exactly what Earth wanted them to find: conventional armies, basic missile systems, and crude nuclear weapons. The carefully constructed facade of a developing civilization remained intact. "Sir," called out Lieutenant White, "they're deploying atmospheric probes." "Let them through," Reed ordered. "Standard protocol. Show them our smog, our pollution, our primitive attempts at clean energy. Make them believe." Dozens of small silver spheres descended through Earth's atmosphere, gathering data about the planet and its inhabitants. They passed through layers of holographic pollution, sampled the carefully engineered dirty atmosphere in designated areas, and observed the struggling attempts at renewable energy. In cities across the globe, people went about their daily lives, following the long-rehearsed protocols. Electric cars remained in their hidden underground garages, while older fuel-burning vehicles moved through the streets. Advanced technology stayed safely hidden behind quantum fields, while outdated computers and primitive devices remained visible. The deception was global, and every human knew their part. Children played in parks while wearing simple watches instead of their quantum computers. Engineers pretended to work on experimental solar panels, while real fusion plants hummed quietly in hidden dimensions. It was a performance 3 decades in the making. In the command center, Reed watched as the Imperial ship completed its initial survey. "They're taking up position in high orbit," Commander Peters announced, "right where we predicted they would." "And their weapons systems?" Reed asked, his voice calm. "Powered but not charged. They don't see us as a threat, sir, just as we planned." Reed straightened his uniform and looked at the main screen one final time. The massive Imperial vessel hung above Earth like a sword, its crew undoubtedly feeling confident in their technological superiority. They had no idea they were performing exactly as humanity had hoped. "Send word to all commands," Reed ordered. "Operation Looking Glass is now active. Maintain current protocols until further notice." He paused, then added, "And send my compliments to Dr. Walker's team. Their quantum masking technology is performing perfectly." As the orders went out, Reed allowed himself to think about the next phase. The Empire would soon make their demands, believing they had found an easy target. They would learn, as others might have before them, that appearances could be deceiving. Earth's greatest deception was about to enter its final phase, and humanity was ready. The message came at exactly noon GMT, broadcasting across every radio frequency, television channel, and digital device on Earth. The Imperial ship's transmission overrode all other signals with ease, just as Earth's defenders had expected it would. Admiral Reed stood in the United Nations Emergency Chamber in New York, watching alongside world leaders as the massive screens came to life. The being that appeared was tall, humanoid, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow with an inner light. People of Earth, the alien figure spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and confident. I am High Commander Marcus of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your world now stands at the threshold of a great future. Reed exchanged glances with General Maria Roberts, who sat among the military leaders. Their eyes met in silent understanding. Everything was proceeding according to their predictions. The Galactic Empire, Commander Marcus continued, offers you the gift of advancement. Your primitive technology, your pollution, your limited space travel, all these can be replaced with Imperial knowledge. In exchange, we require only your complete surrender and integration into our empire. The chamber remained silent. World leaders, all briefed years in advance for this moment, maintained perfect poker faces. Some even managed to look appropriately shocked or afraid, playing their roles perfectly. We have scanned your world thoroughly, the Imperial commander said, his tone becoming more condescending. We see your nuclear weapons, crude devices that pose no threat to us. We see your attempts at space exploration, primitive vessels that barely reach your own moon. The massive screen showed images of Earth's carefully displayed weaknesses, fossil fuel power plants, basic satellites, and old-style military bases, everything the Empire was meant to see. To demonstrate our power, Marcus continued, and our benevolence, we will give you 24 hours to consider our offer. Should you accept, Earth will become a protectorate of the Empire. Should you refuse, he let the threat hang in the air. As the transmission ended, the chamber erupted in carefully orchestrated chaos. Leaders argued loudly about surrender versus resistance, exactly as they would if this had been a real first contact situation. Admiral Reed walked quietly to the podium. He tapped the microphone once, bringing immediate silence to the room. Everyone knew what came next. Ladies and gentlemen, he said calmly, Protocol Omega is now in effect. Please proceed to your designated secure facilities. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the quantum-shielded command center, Dr. Walker's team began powering up systems that had waited 30 years for this moment. Hidden satellites emerged from quantum space, invisible to Imperial scans. The Mars defense grid hummed to life, its existence still unknown to the watching Empire. They're deploying their fleet. Lieutenant White's voice came through Reed's secure communicator. 50 warships just emerged from hyperspace behind Jupiter's orbit. Reed allowed himself a small nod. Right on schedule. How many did our long-range quantum sensors detect in reserve? Another 100 ships waiting in the next system, sir. Exactly as our projections suggested. General Roberts joined Reed as they walked to the secure elevator that would take them to the hidden command center beneath the UN building. They really believe we're helpless, she said, shaking her head. Their arrogance is almost disappointing. Arrogance is predictable, Reed replied as they descended. That's why we spent 3 decades preparing for exactly this scenario. In orbit, the Imperial ships began moving into position, spreading out in a standard conquest formation. Their sensors continued to show them exactly what Earth wanted them to see, a panicking primitive civilization, frantically moving obsolete military forces, and leaders arguing about surrender. Reed reached the quantum-shielded command center and took his position. On the advanced holographic display, he could see the real Earth, the hidden defenses, the quantum fold generators, the true power of humanity's military might, all invisible to Imperial scans. Send our response, he ordered. The message was brief, transmitted on the same frequencies the Empire had used. Just a few simple words, delivered in Admiral Reed's calm voice. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system. This is not a negotiation. In orbit, High Commander Marcus received the message, and for the first time in his long career of planetary conquest, he laughed out loud at the sheer absurdity of such defiance from such a primitive world. It would be the last time he would laugh at Earth. 30 years earlier, Dr. James Walker stood in the underground lab, his hands shaking as he stared at the test results. The small metal cube on his desk had just changed everything humanity thought they knew about physics and space. "Run it again," he ordered his team, his voice barely a whisper. The cube flickered and vanished, reappearing exactly 1 meter to the left. But it hadn't moved through the space between points. It had simply ceased to exist in one location and appeared in another. The quantum fold was real. "Sir," his assistant Robert Brown rushed into the lab, face pale. "The deep space telescopes. They found something. You need to see this." The images from humanity's most advanced telescopes showed what they had feared might exist. Massive ships, entire armadas moving between the stars. Earth wasn't alone, and the galaxy was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 25 years earlier, the first secret Mars base rose from the red soil, hidden beneath quantum fields that made it invisible to any conventional scanning technology. Admiral Reed, then just a captain, watched through the base's windows as construction robots built the massive defense grid. "The quantum fold generators are operating at full capacity," Dr. Walker reported, now older but just as intense. "As far as anyone outside our solar system can tell, Mars is just a dead planet." "And the weapons systems?" Reed asked. "Better than we hoped. The quantum technology doesn't just hide our facilities, it makes our weapons literally impossible to defend against. They can't stop what they can't detect." 20 years earlier, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the largest military installation in human history neared completion. General Roberts, then a colonel, walked through the massive command center with Dr. Walker. Every nation contributed their best scientists, their best resources, she said, looking at the quantum computers that lined the walls. "And no one outside the program knows this exists." "The quantum field doesn't just hide us," Walker explained, pointing to the displays showing real-time data from across the solar system. "It lets us see everything while appearing completely blind. We can track every ship within 50 light years, while looking like we can barely reach our moon." 15 years earlier, the last coal power plant in the developed world shut down, replaced by quantum fold generators that produced unlimited clean energy. But the plant remained standing, burning a small amount of coal, generating exactly the heat and pollution signature that would be expected. "The deception has to be perfect," Reed explained to the world leaders gathered in the secret bunker beneath the UN. "Every satellite they can detect must look primitive. Every power source they can scan must appear inefficient. We have to look exactly like what they expect to find. An easy target." 5 years earlier, the first test of the complete defense system began. Hidden quantum satellites tracked test drones designed to mimic alien ships. Weapons platforms concealed in quantum space eliminated targets with perfect accuracy. The Mars defense grid projected false sensor data that could fool even the most advanced scanning systems. "We're ready," Dr. Walker reported to the combined military command. His hair had turned gray, but his eyes still burned with the same intensity. "The quantum fold technology has exceeded every expectation. We can hide entire fleets in plain sight." Present day. As the Imperial ships moved into position around Earth, Admiral Reed thought back to all those years of preparation. Humanity had known this day would come. They had spent 3 decades building the greatest deception in human history. In the Quantum Hidden Command Center, Dr. Walker stood beside his old friend. "The Quantum Fold network is operating at full capacity," he reported. "Every hidden defense system is online. Every decoy is functioning perfectly." Reed nodded, watching the Imperial ships on the display. They were powerful, yes. Their technology was advanced, but they had made one critical mistake. They believed what they saw. 30 years, Reed said quietly. 30 years of hiding our true capabilities, of letting everyone think we were barely able to reach orbit while we built the most advanced defense force in history. Dr. Walker smiled. They expect spears and arrows, Admiral. They have no idea they're walking into a quantum hurricane. In orbit, the Imperial fleet continued their deployment, completely unaware that they were surrounded by humanity's hidden forces. They had no idea that every move they made had been predicted and planned for decades ago. The stage was set. Humanity's long deception was about to reach its final, devastating conclusion. High Commander Marcus paced the bridge of his flagship, replaying Earth's message for the 5th time. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system. This is not a negotiation. The simple words, spoken in Admiral Reed's calm voice, echoed through the command deck. The Imperial officers looked at each other, some fighting back smiles, others shaking their heads at what they saw as foolish bravery. They really believe they can stand against the Empire, Marcus said, his glowing eyes fixed on the blue planet below. Show me their military capabilities again. The main screen displayed Earth's visible defenses, outdated missile silos, primitive nuclear submarines, and basic fighter jets. The Empire's scans showed no energy shields, no advanced weapons, not even basic space combat capabilities. Perhaps they are bluffing, suggested his second-in-command, Officer Lewis. Their scans show they can detect our ships. Maybe they think a show of confidence will make us hesitate. Marcus laughed, the sound echoing across the bridge. Confidence. They're using fossil fuels. Their fastest ships can barely reach their own moon. Their most advanced weapons are simple nuclear devices that our shields would shrug off like rain. In the quantum-hidden command center beneath the Pacific, Admiral Reed watched the Imperial fleet's response through advanced sensors that the Empire didn't know existed. They're moving their ships into attack formation, Lieutenant White reported. Standard Imperial conquest pattern, just like our intelligence suggested they would. Reed nodded, his face showing no emotion. And our hidden fleet. In position, sir. Quantum fold generators are maintaining perfect concealment. They have no idea we have ships surrounding their entire fleet. On the Imperial flagship, Marcus prepared his response to Earth's warning. His message would be broadcast across all frequencies, just as before. People of Earth, he began, his voice dripping with condescension. Your defiance, while admirable, is futile. We have scanned your entire planet. We know the limits of your technology. You have no weapons that can harm our ships, no defenses that can stop our attacks. The message played across Earth's cities, carefully chosen to be visible to the Imperial fleet. On the streets, people ran in apparent panic, following the long-rehearsed protocols that made Earth appear vulnerable and frightened. To demonstrate the futility of resistance, Marcus continued, we will now destroy your most advanced space station. Consider this a small taste of Imperial power. Reed watched as the Imperial ships targeted the empty space station. It had been built specifically for this moment, filled with outdated technology and 0 personnel. A perfect target for their demonstration. Should we stop them? General Roberts asked, standing beside Reed in the command center. No, Reed replied calmly. Let them have their moment. Let them believe their show of force is having the desired effect. The Imperial ship fired a single energy beam. The space station exploded in a spectacular display, raining debris into Earth's atmosphere, exactly as planned. Stand by for their full deployment, Reed ordered. They'll follow standard Imperial protocol. Spread their fleet to cover all major population centers. Make themselves look as intimidating as possible. Sure enough, the 50 Imperial warships began to move, spreading out in a web around Earth. Their massive forms blocked out the stars as they took position over major cities. In the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Walker monitored the quantum fold network. All systems are ready, Admiral, He reported through the secure channel. "Every Imperial ship is exactly where we predicted they would be." Reed looked at the clock. 23 hours remained in their warning deadline. The Empire had responded exactly as expected, with arrogance, with a show of force, with complete confidence in their superiority. "Send the final message," Reed ordered. The transmission was even shorter this time. 23 hours remaining. The choice is yours. On his flagship, Marcus received the message and smiled. These humans were either insanely brave or simply insane. Either way, they would learn what it meant to defy the Empire. He had no way of knowing that Earth's true fleet, hidden in quantum space, had already locked weapons on every Imperial ship. He couldn't see the Mars defense grid powering up, or the quantum weapons preparing to fire. He didn't realize that his attempt to intimidate Earth was about to become the Empire's greatest military disaster. High Commander Marcus waited until exactly 12 hours remained in Earth's deadline. He would show these primitives why the Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. "Begin the demonstration," he ordered. "Target their largest military bases. Show them what real power looks like." 20 Imperial warships moved into position, their weapons charging with brilliant blue energy. On Earth's surface, the targeted bases appeared to scramble in panic, launching outdated fighter jets and moving ground forces in disarray. In the quantum-hidden command center, Admiral Reed watched calmly. "All personnel are evacuated from the target zones." "Yes, sir," Lieutenant White confirmed. "Only empty buildings and decoy equipment remain. All our real forces are safely in quantum space." The Imperial ships fired. Massive energy beams struck Earth's surface, creating huge explosions that lit up the sky. Dust and debris flew into the air as the empty military bases were destroyed. Marcus smiled as he watched the destruction on his view screen, now broadcast on all frequencies. His image appeared across Earth again. "This was merely 5% of our weapons' power. Your primitive defenses are nothing against Imperial technology. Surrender now, and we will be merciful." In the Pacific Command Center, Dr. Walker looked up from his quantum monitors. "They've taken the bait, Admiral. Their ships are perfectly positioned." Reed nodded slowly. "And the Mars defense grid? Fully charged and ready. They still have no idea it exists." On the Imperial flagship, Marcus waited for Earth's response. He expected panic, perhaps immediate surrender. Instead, a single text message appeared on his screen. "Thank you for confirming your hostile intent. Now watch carefully." Marcus frowned. "What are they?" He never finished the sentence. The space around his fleet suddenly lit up with a strange, rippling energy. Where there had been empty space moments before, hundreds of advanced Earth ships appeared, surrounding the Imperial fleet. "Impossible," Marcus shouted, staring at his sensors. "Where did they come from? How did we not detect them?" On Earth, Reed gave the first real order of the war: activate the Mars defense grid. The red planet, which had appeared dead and lifeless to Imperial scans, suddenly blazed with energy. A massive network of quantum-powered weapons platforms emerged from hidden space, their weapons already locked on Imperial targets. "Sir," Officer Lewis shouted on the Imperial bridge. "Their technology, it's not primitive at all. These energy readings, they're far beyond anything we've seen." Marcus watched in horror as his sensors finally showed the truth. Earth's cities shimmered as quantum fields dropped, revealing advanced infrastructure that had been invisible until now. The primitive power plants disappeared, replaced by massive energy generators that dwarfed Imperial technology. "All ships, raise shields," Marcus ordered. "Prepare tow." The first quantum weapon fired from Mars cut through his words. It didn't move through space like normal weapons. It simply appeared inside the Imperial ship shields, bypassing them completely. 3 Imperial warships exploded instantly. There was no defense against weapons that ignored the space between firing and impact. "How?" Marcus demanded, watching his fleet's most powerful shields fail against Earth's attacks. "You were primitive. We scanned your whole planet. Admiral Reed's voice came through clear on all Imperial channels. You scanned what we wanted you to scan. You saw what we wanted you to see. For 30 years, we hid our true technology, waiting for someone like you to come. The Mars defense grid fired again. 5 more Imperial ships vanished in balls of quantum fire. The Earth ships, hidden for so long in quantum space, moved with impossible speed and precision. Admiral, Dr. Walker's voice was calm in the command center. All quantum weapons are performing perfectly. The Empire's shields are useless against them. Reed watched as the mighty Imperial fleet found itself trapped and outgunned by the very primitive world they had come to conquer. Send to all Earth forces. Execute Protocol Omega. Show them exactly what humanity can do. The space around Earth lit up with quantum fire as humanity's hidden power was finally unleashed. The Empire's greatest mistake was about to become legend. High Commander Marcus watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell into chaos. Imperial warships, the pride of the Empire's military, exploded one after another as Earth's quantum weapons struck through their strongest shields. Retreat, he ordered, his confident voice now shaking. All ships jumped to hyperspace. But something was wrong. The Imperial ship's hyperspace engines wouldn't activate. They were trapped in normal space, surrounded by Earth's hidden fleet. In the Pacific Command Center, Dr. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The quantum gravity net is working perfectly, Admiral. They can't escape. Admiral Reed nodded, watching the battle displays. Earth's ships moved with perfect precision, their quantum drives letting them appear and disappear at will. The Empire's advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto vessels that didn't travel through normal space. Sir, Lieutenant White called out. The Imperial flagship is trying to call their reinforcement fleet. Let them, Reed replied calmly. It's time they saw everything. On his flagship's bridge, Marcus finally managed to send a distress signal. This is High Commander Marcus to Imperial Reserve Fleet. Emergency. Earth has hidden technology. We need immediate support. The response came instantly. Reserve Fleet responding. 100 warships jumping to your position. A massive flash of light filled the space beyond Mars as the Imperial reinforcements arrived. Marcus felt hope return until he saw what was waiting for them. The Mars defense grid lit up again, but this time it wasn't just weapons firing. The entire space around Mars rippled as quantum fields dropped, revealing humanity's largest military installation, a fortress world that had been invisible until now. By the ancient stars, Marcus whispered, watching his sensors display the true power of what Earth had built. That's impossible. The reserve fleet had jumped straight into humanity's trap. Before they could raise their shields, quantum weapons from Mars struck 30 ships simultaneously. They didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, erased by weapons that bent the laws of physics. In the command center, General Roberts joined Reed at the main display. Should we show them our last surprise? Reed checked the tactical display. The remaining Imperial ships were still trying to fight, still trying to use strategies that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But their weapons passed harmlessly through Earth's quantum-shifted ships, while every human counterattack struck with devastating accuracy. Yes, Reed decided. Activate the Jupiter array. In orbit around the solar system's largest planet, another quantum field dropped. The Empire's sensors suddenly detected something that dwarfed even their largest space stations, a massive ring of quantum energy collectors that spanned half of Jupiter's orbit. The quantum fold technology doesn't just hide things, Dr. Walker explained, his voice broadcasting to every Imperial ship. It doesn't just let us ignore your shields. It lets us harness energy in ways your science can't understand. The Jupiter array began to glow. Energy coursed through quantum channels that the Empire's best sensors still couldn't properly detect. Every Imperial ship's computer system started showing impossible readings. This is your final warning. Admiral Reed's voice was still calm, still measured. Your shields cannot stop our weapons. Your ships cannot escape our gravity net. And now you see just a fraction of our true power." On the Imperial flagship, Marcus stared at the tactical display in despair. His mighty fleet was in ruins. The reinforcements were being systematically erased from space. And now this primitive world was showing them technology that should not exist. "How?" he demanded. "How did you hide all this?" Reed's response was simple. "We learned long ago that appearing weak is sometimes the greatest strength. You saw what you expected to see. A primitive world ready for conquest. You never thought to look deeper." The Jupiter array pulsed once. Every Imperial ship's power system suddenly went dark, disabled by quantum fields they couldn't detect or resist. Humanity's hidden fleet moved into final attack position, surrounding the helpless Imperial vessels. Earth had planned this moment for 30 years, and now the galaxy would learn why appearances could be deceiving. The Empire's greatest defeat was about to be written into history. High Commander Marcus stood on his powerless flagship's bridge, watching the last of his mighty fleet drift helplessly in space. Of the 150 Imperial warships that had come to conquer Earth, barely 30 remained. The rest had been erased by weapons that defied Imperial science. "Your ship's life support systems will fail in 2 hours." Admiral Reed's voice came through the emergency channels. "You have exactly 1 hour to surrender, or we will send you back to the Empire in escape pods." In the Pacific Command Center, General Roberts turned to Reed. "Do you think they'll actually surrender?" "They have no choice," Reed replied, watching the tactical displays. "Their weapons are useless, their shields are down, and they just watched us destroy their most powerful ships with ease." The Jupiter array still glowed ominously in the distance, its quantum energy collectors casting blue light across the solar system. The Mars defense grid remained active, its weapons locked on every surviving Imperial vessel. On the Imperial flagship, Marcus finally made his decision. This is High Commander Marcus of the Imperial Fleet. We surrender." Dr. Walker smiled at his quantum monitors. "Just as we predicted, Admiral. Their entire command structure depends on believing they have superior technology. Once that belief breaks..." Reed nodded and opened a channel to all Imperial ships. "Your surrender is accepted. All ship commanders will prepare for boarding. Earth forces will take control of your vessels. Any resistance will be met with immediate quantum response." Earth's hidden fleet suddenly appeared around each Imperial ship, quantum fields dropping to reveal sleek vessels that had been invisible until now. Teams of Earth soldiers, wearing advanced powered armor that the Empire had never seen before, transported directly through the Imperial shields. "Impossible," Marcus whispered as Earth troops appeared on his bridge. "Your technology. It breaks every law of physics we know." "No," replied the Earth officer leading the boarding party. "It just follows laws you haven't discovered yet." In the command center, Lieutenant White looked up from her station. "Sir, we're detecting long-range quantum signals. The Empire is spreading news of their defeat." Reed allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let them see. Let them all see." Across the galaxy, Imperial communications networks lit up with the news. The undefeated Imperial fleet had been destroyed by a world they had thought primitive. The images spread quickly. Earth ships appearing from nowhere, weapons that ignored shields, technology that made mockery of Imperial science. "Admiral," Dr. Walker called from his station, "should we send the prepared message to the Imperial capital?" Reed nodded. "Yes. Let's make sure everyone understands exactly what happened here." The quantum transmission reached every corner of the Empire simultaneously. On thousands of worlds, beings of all species watched as Admiral Reed addressed the galaxy. "To the Galactic Empire and all spacefaring civilizations," he began, his voice calm but firm. "Earth has remained hidden, watching, learning, preparing. We chose to appear weak. We chose to look primitive. Not out of fear, but because we understood something you had forgotten. True strength lies in wisdom, not arrogance. The images showed Imperial ships being effortlessly defeated by Earth's quantum weapons. We could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have conquered worlds as you do. Instead, we waited, defending our home, developing our technology not for conquest, but for protection. In the imperial capital, the emperor himself watched as Reed continued. This is humanity's only warning to the galaxy. We wish for peace. We wish for trade. We wish to share knowledge with those who come in friendship, but to those who come seeking conquest. The image showed the Jupiter array pulsing with unimaginable power. Remember this day. Remember what happened to your undefeated fleet. As the captured Imperial ships were escorted to Earth orbit, Admiral Reed made a final log entry in the quantum archives. Today marks humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as guardians of a simple truth. Appearances can be deceiving, and wisdom is the greatest power of all. Earth's long deception was over. Its warning to the galaxy had been delivered. And in the centuries that followed, no empire, no fleet, no force ever again mistook Earth's peaceful appearance for weakness. The day Earth revealed its true power became legend, taught on 1,000 worlds as a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one wise enough to look harmless.